Hi, everybody. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel, Politics with Sherry Jacobus. If you're not subscribed, I hope you'll hit that button and help me out. I also have a podcast by the same name over on Patreon where I interview people, newsmakers, lawmakers, reporters, the whole nine yards. So I hope you'll check that out too. So today, I guess, is the funeral for Charlie Kirk. All right. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on, a lot. And they are abusing the situation. MAGA and Trump are exploiting the death of Charlie Kirk. Uh, Charlie Kirk was, in my view, an abhorrent person, but he did not deserve to die. We do know that MAGA and Trump firmly believe that people who disagree with them and won't do their bidding deserve to die. We know that MAGA is, as we all are, horrified at the very public assassination, murder of Charlie Kirk in front of his family and kids in the world. But also remember that these are the same people who are fine with the attacks on our Capitol on January 6th, an attack that was orchestrated and planned by Donald Trump to keep him in office because he lost an election, to overturn an election, to stop the certification of the votes for president of the United States. And because Mike Pence would not lie, cheat, and steal for Trump and for MAGA, they built gallows on the lawn of the Capitol so that Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi, the vice president of the United States and the Speaker of the House, would be publicly executed in front of their families and children and grandchildren as well. So there's a history here. You can't just cherry pick things and pretend like, oh, they just happened in a vacuum. So you can't have it both ways. These are the people, if they were not there on January 6th, they still support MAGA after MAGA. The people who broke into the Capitol, broke windows, killed police officers, planted bombs, pipe bombs and others around the Capitol, had a hotel room with a cache of weapons across the river in Virginia, in Arlington. Remember all this? We forget so much over time, don't we? They killed police officers. They went into the Capitol building with zip ties. We have members of Congress with gas masks on, hiding from them, locking them out of the House chamber. We have these people who were pardoned by Trump, many of them now serving in the administration at DOJ as ICE agents. We have these people literally crapping in the Capitol building and taking their feces and spreading it on the walls and the floors of our Capitol building. This is who they are. This is who is in our government now. These are not normal times. Trump accidentally put a private message public on Truth Social where he was demanding that the Attorney General, his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, start arresting and doing investigations of Adam Schiff and others, that he's demanding this. That is an impeachable offense. There is a line drawn between the executive and DOJ. The President of the United States is not to be involved in any way, shape, or form of the goings of what's happening at DOJ, the investigations, and Pam Bondi. He should be impeached. And you know that if this had been Joe Biden, if Joe Biden had sent a message like that to, say, Merrick Garland, saying, you better get busy prosecuting Trump and those around him, it would have been over for him. So we have MAGA cheering Trump on for this, even though this is clearly unconstitutional, clearly something for which he should be thrown out of office, along with all the other things he's done. So when they say that they're accusing any Democrat who takes the words of Charlie Kirk and puts them out there, they're saying they're out of context. No, they're not. And he did say them. He did not deserve to be killed for it, but he did say and do these things. He was racist, terribly racist. He was a bigot. He called for public executions. He called for the execution of Joe Biden. Charlie Kirk actually had a discussion on his show about Okay, he thinks kids should be able to witness public execution, say, of Joe Biden. And well, how young is too young? This is who he was. And his fortune is reportedly something along the lines of $14 million. He was funded by some very big conservative entities. He was used by them, in my view. This was not a grassroots effort. He also took Bible verses and just peppered them around, just threw them around, because the MAGA who pretend they are Christians, they wear that on their sleeve. He had to give them a reason, excuse. They're desperately looking for something to hang on to allow them to support insurrection and hanging Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi, overturning elections, lying, cheating, stealing, raping teen girls to justify everything that Trump has done and the people around him. Okay? And if you just throw them a Bible verse, and half of them didn't even fit, it's like it was like some computer program that just pulled them out and threw them out there. And that gives these idiot fake Christians in MAGA their excuse to say, oh, it's Bible verse. No, it's not. No, it's not. And we know this. I have been called names, unbelievable names, multiple times on Twitter, not Blue Sky, but Twitter. The see you next Tuesday and all of that, probably by the same bot. Now, remember, I get deluged by the bots and trolls, as many of us do. These are not people who follow me. These are not people who see my tweets or respond to them any other time, unless it's something that they want to exploit, such as the death of Charlie Kirk. They're trying to make him into some kind of a martyr, because they're all going to make money off it. It's going to help them recruit. Pete Hegseth is using Charlie Kirk's death to recruit like-minded young men, so that this will be a private militia loyal to Donald Trump rather than loyal to the United States of America. This is what they're doing. This is who they are to their core. We see this over and over and over again. So they are exploiting this for profit and power. We have people in the media caving to this. And as we talked about, I think yesterday in my post, we all do have power. Some have more power than others. Like Gavin Newsom has power. He's using it. Us collectively canceling their Disney subscriptions, boycotting ABC and Disney, all of that, Hulu. Their cancellation part of their website crashes because so many people are doing it. They are down, like $2 billion plus in market value. Top talent is going to leave if they don't fix this. So we do have power. We need to use it. We need to start giving MAGA the benefit of the doubt. There's enough out there where you don't have to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think they are very much crossing the line with their exploitation and their wild claims about the death of Charlie Kirk. We don't have proof that the shooter was, first of all, acting alone, and secondly, was a left-wing person, as they claim. So these bots and trolls that swarm us on social media, they're not real people. I posted pictures, video of these bot farms. They have literally hundreds and thousands of phones, of iPhones up on the wall. That the individuals are each, you could have one person in control of hundreds of these, and that's why you get the same messages over and over again, such as the names that they're calling me. And they have no followers, or they're brand new, or they have very few followers, and their followers are also bots and trolls. So what I do is I hide, reply, and block. If you just block them, that blocks them from you, but your followers can still see it. And that means that if they engage these bots and trolls, now those bots and trolls have an in, because they're using your audience, your followers, to get traction. So don't respond. And don't just block, hide their reply. And that means that no one can see them except their own followers. And since they don't have followers that are real, they literally suffocate and die. They don't exist. They cease to exist. Hide replies. And you can only do this when they are replying to your original tweet. So if you go up to the three dots at the top of your tweet, click it, you see the menu options. Don't just scroll on your tweet and on their reply. You have to, click on it. And then you'll be given the option to hide reply. hide reply, and then it'll ask you if you want to block too. And of course you do. I do this a lot. Now, the ones who keep doing this to me, they're doing it because they're paid to do it. Whoever is paying them, and there's different entities, we know that, Putin has done this, Russia has the bots and trolls. The people doing it still get paid for doing it, whether, you hide replies and block. But eventually this will die off as something they do if we all engage in just shutting them down. Because it is basically a trick. It is a lie. These are not real people. Actually, most MAGA aren't even on Twitter. They don't even know what Blue Sky is. A lot of them are on Facebook, though. They're on Facebook. That tends to be a little more real. But I do think it's important that we get the truth out there about who Charlie Kirk really was. Acknowledge the horrificness of the horrifying shooting that was caught. Obviously, we all saw it. But remember, he is the one who said we need public executions. He is the one who said very blatantly, very directly, very succinctly that a certain number of gun deaths every year is the price we pay for the Second Amendment. Whether it's little kids in a school being shot up, I'm sure he never thought it was going to be him, but who makes those rules, right? The images are horrific, but I can't help but wonder if we were shown, or if Congress, Republicans in particular, were shown the images of school children after a school shooting where they have to identify them by their clothing or some other way because their heads are blown off. Maybe then we would do something. But this over-the-top exploitation by MAGA, by Trump, of the death of Charlie Kirk is really stomach-churning. He was not a public official. He was a podcaster. He was very wealthy, and he was backed by very, very big far right-wing donors. The list had been out for a while. So I do think that's important to keep in mind. And by the way, just because you accurately quote Charlie Kirk, because you accurately are talking about what is going on now as Trump and MAGA try to exploit this for nefarious purposes, we have to do this to save our country. This is part and parcel of it. The other side is trying to call you a ghoul and a horrible person. You're not. Nobody is celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Okay? But we can't just let this slide. We've been letting too much slide with MAGA for the past 10 years. Way too much. And now the censorship has grown even stronger. So we're either going to be okay with that or we're not. Now, I noted that Hillary Clinton on social media said, Jimmy Kimmel and other comedians very often criticized her, made fun of her. She wouldn't have dreamed of picking up the phone of the networks and telling them to ban this person or suspend them. But this is not new. When I was criticizing Trump, actually what I was doing is just, for the record, putting the truth out there about his super PAC, because the Washington Post caught him with the super PAC after he said he was self-funding, blah, blah, blah. I've said this story. I knew about his super PAC because his team told me about it. Corey Lewandowski told me about it when they tried to get me to work for him. And I said, no. Remember, I didn't agree to meet with Corey Lewandowski, never heard of him, didn't know who he was. It was an old friend of mine that was working on this exploratory committee heading over to the super PAC who was trying to recruit me to be Trump's communications director. And you don't just say no to an old friend of 30 years. I was living in New York. So I said, well, why don't we, let's have lunch, And without telling me, he brings along this guy named Corey Lewandowski, who I never heard of, never ran into in politics, didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was going to join us for lunch. And they admitted they kind of had to ambush people because they couldn't get good people to meet with them. Okay. So yeah, this crowd's been dishonest from the get-go. So when months later, when the Washington Post was doing this piece on Trump's super PAC, Lewandowski threatened to sue, Trump's threatening to sue. Lewandowski slamming the phone down on the reporter. So I stepped up and said, no, they do have a super PAC. They told me all about it. I was not the source for the article, by the way. But I was confirming what they already knew, what they'd already found. Well, that was when Trump was able to pick up the phone and have Roger Ailes ban me from Fox after I'd been on, for 17 years, thousands of times. Same thing happened in that next February with Jeff Zucker, who was Trump's best little buddy running CNN. I was telling some truths about Trump on the air that he didn't like, and I was criticizing him. So he did the same thing, picked up the phone, has Jeff Zucker ban me. He was still just a primary candidate. So this has been going on for a long time. And also when Corey Lewandowski called into Morning Joe and defamed me and lied about me, Morning Joe Scarborough, who I'd known forever, would not let me go on the air and defend myself. He would not even say on the air that I dispute what Lewandowski said about me. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I was demanding it, saying, how can you do this? And then they stopped inviting me on the air. That network did. They eventually had me back on a couple of years later, but then, So what Hillary Clinton said that never would have entered her mind. Well, first of all, there usually would have been a pretty high price to pay if a campaign had done that. She knew that. So, but this isn't new. Suspending people from the air who are very good critics of Trump and telling the truth about him is not new. But it gets everybody's attention when it's a big name, when it's a Terry Moran, when it's a Jim Acosta who got pushed out, when it's a Jimmy Kimmel, right? That's what happens. Stephen Colbert. But it started happening to me in the fall of 2015. We cannot afford to let this stuff slide anymore another 10 years just because a person it's being done to isn't a big, important person. I was a relatively small cog in the wheel. So that goes, I've said this before, we did do this to ourselves. So don't let them intimidate you. Don't let them take over your Twitter. Hide replies, block these people, stand up to them. Don't let them get away with it. These are the people that tried to hang Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi in public where their families could see it and the world could see it. So I guess they think it's okay just in situations where, it's somebody they hate.